This is like a really strong talking head video. This is more of a rant than an actual like video I normally make, because if you've been scrolling through YouTube the last 24 hours, I wouldn't say it's been the hot topic of the day, but Sony has launched the FX2, which is the new model in their cinema line. But people's consensus have been kind of slightly confused about it. I mean, there's been some people who really love it. They love the idea. I like the idea. I think the design of it's cool. The concept of it is kind of cool. I would find myself buying it. Maybe not just yet. But I think a lot of people have kind of been slightly confused because it's like, for two reasons, actually. I think one reason is that a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks ago, Lumix launched the S1 Mark III, which was like a full frame, open gate, 4K camera. So it was kind of like, in the camera industry, it's also a hybrid camera, so you can shoot photos on it. In the camera industry, it was kind of like Lumix being like, playing a big move. And I think we were kind of seeing who will respond to it. And I think a lot of people were kind of expecting an FX3 Mark II, but then didn't get it. And they got the FX2 instead. So I think they were kind of like, I guess we'll just deal with that. But it's so funny though, because it's like, I don't hate it. I don't know why there's a lot of hatred towards this camera. I think it's really cool. I put down some points to make on why I think it's a cool camera. There's some cons in here. I'll start off with the cons because it's, like, it's only a few. But it's been funny lately. It's been funny to me because I'm like, come on guys. It's the three stages in life when a camera or a lens comes out where people have very strong opinions about it when it first launches, and they hate it or they love it or they just don't care for it. And then a few months later, someone is like, I think I might buy it. I'm going to experience a whole few months with it. I'm going to do a project, blah, blah, blah. And then the third stage is like acceptance, where you're like, wait, this is actually not a bad camera. It has really cool features. I'm very optimistic. I think any camera that comes out has a market for someone. I don't know who particularly the FX2 is marketed for, but I do think it could get a market because everything has a market. No matter what it is, there's a market for everyone, whether you believe it or not. But maybe that's just the optimism in me. So kind of, that's, I guess I would say, my big 2 cents or my 2 cents of this matter. Yes. Anyways, let's get into my points. Now, you can go through the video and find the exact same things explained. FX2 is practically the Alpha 7C Mark II, but in a cinema body, because the Alpha 7C Mark II is the Alpha 7 Mark IV, but in a smaller body. So yeah, FX2 has the exact same sensor as Alpha 7C Mark II and the Alpha 7 Mark IV. It has these, so it's a 33 megapixel. It has the same, when we look at the Alpha 7C Mark II particularly, because the FX2 now has the AI focusing chip. So you get auto framing, active stabilization mode. You get better autofocus tracking on the subject. So if something were to walk in front of your subject, it wouldn't like lose it. It would just like create a probability where it might be. And then once your subject is reframed, it will lock on automatically, which is super cool. I have the Alpha 7 Mark 7R Mark V, sorry. And it has that feature, and I love it because when I do a lot of portrait work, I never worry about losing my subject. Along with that, what's really cool is you can shoot you can shoot stills with a log profile. So if you're on a job and you're trying to scout a location, this is kind of like where I say there's a really cool plus for the FX2. If you're on a job and you're trying to scout for locations and you're not sure how that's going to look in a color grade format when you're filming, you can take now photos on like S-Log3, color grade it in post-process, and see what it would look like if you were to film it on FX2. So I think that's a plus for anyone in the movie making industries, that they can easily just do that and not have to guess what it's going to look like via post-production and either be disappointed or be excited. So I think that's really, really cool. The new vent fan, I wish I had that on the FX3. So the new vent fan is hidden right behind the LCD screen on the FX2. It's like right here. It apparently increases the longer time of recording. So if you slap the dummy battery, plug it into a wall, you can record for like hours without having the camera overheat. I think if you're shooting in hotter conditions, that extra vent fan will make sure that the camera stays remotely cool. I wish I had it to test it, but I'm gonna just trust everyone who has used it and said it's worked. So it's really kind of cool. Again, it's the same sensor. So you get a 33 megapixel sensor. So when you have also a designated button to switch between, like it's in the back to switch between movies and stills. So if you're photographing, which you can do on the FX3 and FX30, but I personally don't. I sometimes do, but sometimes I'm just like, I'll just do it on my phone. You can now get a 33 megapixel image versus the FX3 where you used to get 12 megapixels. But also, in the science of megapixels, since we're posting on social media the entire time, 12 megapixels versus 33 doesn't really make a fat difference unless you're really cropping down on the image, then yeah. The other cool thing, and I think it's a really, really fun idea, is the tilting EVF. I think that's, it reminds me of the old school handycams, and people have been posting that on threads the last few hours, and I love it because that's what it is. It literally looks like a handycam in a FX body, which is really cool. I like it. I think it allows you to like then film in a cool, different perspective. Are we going to see dads carrying this at their kids' recital? Maybe, but also that's still kind of cool because you're getting like almost a good high quality image for your kids' recital. So I think that's kind of fun. Like I said, it's a unique idea. That was one thing I was like, I would love to buy that, but unfortunately you can't take it off. So if you're like, I really want to remove this because I want to build out a cage. I'll get into that later. You can't take it off. You just kind of have to build around it. So it's kind of, it's kind of like a pros and cons to it. And it's also not super expensive. I don't know its price. I believe it's priced $2,700. I could be wrong because I've been hearing people throw different prices back and forth, but it is cheaper than the FX3 and I think the FX30. Let's just use the FX3 as an example because we're talking about full frame only. So it's cheaper than the FX3. So if you're someone who wants to have a cinema camera but can't really afford the FX3 price at the moment and you want to kind of still take photos, the FX2 can be right for you. But like I said, for someone who does get into the cinema line, they're really focusing on making just movies or videos only. Yeah, sorry, I couldn't think for a second. So those are kind of ways I think like that camera can be unique. It has certain functions that I feel like, you won't find on the Alpha 7C Mark II, the Alpha 7 Mark IV, because yes, this camera is the same menu as those models, but there's a few other things that make it just a video first still camera. But although there is a designated button to switch between movies and stills, you still get that feeling that it's like a video first. Now, like I said, I don't have a camera, so I can't really put it to test and explain. This is just coming off from what I've seen so far. I did forget to mention that on the LCD screen, there is a designated like menu system. When you go to the home menu, there's like a home button that will show you most of your kind of setup, like so your frame rate, picture profile, zeros are activated, all that other stuff. So like, I guess you would say that it's taking the idea of let's make a hybrid camera, but let's really bring in stuff from the FX series and stuff from a standard Alpha 7C or Alpha 7 Mark IV and like put it together and let's see what we can do. As someone who uses the FX3, I kind of am jealous that they have the AI autofocusing chip because I have scenarios where I, like I said, I lose focus because something got in my way. And so then I have to refocus and it kind of really kills the flow of filming something. So I'm just like, But like I said, those are really cool points that make it unique. And I feel like that's going to make it down the road really kind of like get back in the limelight or the spotlight. Is that the right saying? I don't know. However, there are like maybe 2 or 3 things that I'm like, why did you do that? And what kind of causes people to be slightly upset about? I mean, the first one is given, it's not open gate. Lumix came out with a full frame open gate just 2 weeks ago and people were so super happy about it. And it was also a hybrid camera. So that's also another thing. So yeah, no open gate, which I feel like is not, if you're picking the FX2 over FX3, I think you're not really worried about open gate, but still kind of sucks. Although I love the tilting EVF, I can't even talk right now. If you put anything on the hot shoe, because the EVF is like right here, it's this spot right here. So if you put anything a little bit bigger than the hot shoe mount, it gets in the way. I think a good example I saw so far is on the Petapixel video. They were putting a Rode mic on top of it and they couldn't tilt the EVF because the Rode mic's receiver was pretty huge, so they couldn't move it. So I think if you're trying to put Or yeah, if you're trying to build out the cage and you need a something to go over the hot shoe, or if you're putting anything that is on the hot shoe, you kind of have an issue there. So maybe there's a way around it. Maybe if you, I know people like Condor Blue, they make a lot of camera cages. Maybe they found a way to kind of combat in that, where you place the mic off to the side and you just plug it through, like have an extra long cable and plug it through the mic jack. I don't know. So that kind of sucks in my opinion, because I love having my mic on top of my FX3 if I'm filming stuff outside. So I kind of, it's kind of one of the cons. And the last one is, I don't think it's really a big pain in the butt for me, but if people are using this, 4K at 60 frames per second, 60 frames per second is a 1.5 crop, which kind of sucks because that's a jump. So if you're doing something, I'm going to get my math wrong. If you're doing, actually, I'll do it right now. If you're shooting on a 35 millimeter lens and you're using 60 frames per second at 4K, you're now using a 52. So that's kind of a big focal length jump. So some people or 50 millimeter focal length, if you want to round down. So that's kind of a big jump. A lot of people might not like that. So it kind of hurt the people who want a faster frame rate if they're going to do a lot of more speed ramp videos. So yeah, those are the only three things that kind of were like, ugh. I don't really care about it being almost a hybrid camera where you can take photos. I really don't care about that because your FX3 can do that. I didn't really care that it was a 33 megapixel because in the end, I think when we talk about megapixels, they don't really care because we're always posting. They do care. I do care about them. But when we're posting on social media, it's kind of like, okay. Please also don't come at me in my comments about my remark about megapixels and whether I do care or not care about them. But yeah, so the FX2 is the FX2. It's the best way I can put it. It's a unique camera. I don't know who it's for yet, but it's going to be for someone. It's not for me, I know for a fact. I'd rather wait for a possible FX3 Mark II, because then I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to get a designated video camera, but it's going to have a little bit more better features that are in the Alpha 1 Mark II or the Alpha 9 Mark III or the Alpha 7 R5. So yeah, that's much I can say about it. I wish, like I said, I wish there was more I could say, but that's where we're at with FX2. I'm hoping to get my hands on one, so I'm constantly checking on lens rental to see if I can get to borrow one or loan one. If not, it's going to be a fat minute. So yeah, cool. If you have any questions, because if you're like me or if you're not like me and you don't have time to skimmage through a bunch of YouTube videos, comment down below if you have a question about the FX2. Like and subscribe. I know it's been a minute since I post. I've been completely busy, so yeah, that's fortunately or unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know what I can say in between. My recent videos, this one talk about the FX2, something I don't have in hand. But anyways, cool. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you all later.